If you've ever struggled with electric nail file, heat spikes, overfiling, or even damaging the natural nails, you know how frustrating it can be. That's why I'm so excited to try the world's first AI-powered electric nail file by O1, and I'm one of the first nail experts to try it out. It promises to work twice as fast while keeping the nails safe. But can it really deliver? Let's put it through 5 different challenges, but first let's take a look inside. Zero vibration nail care physics fact. High speed removal, any vibration equals nail damage. Well, cannot definitely argue with that. So I have a white one. And ooh, look at this cute case. We also have some information here. It's a hard case, so I think it would be perfect for travel too. We have this cute O Nail logo here. Wow, it looks like I'm a magician and this is my bag. Like literally, I just love the design of these. Oh my god, how cute is that? So this is the drill bit, but it looks like something from the chemistry lab, right? Okay, I guess this one goes here. And this is the electric nail file. It's about the size of my palm and it has such a cute design. Oh my god, so this feels like a leather and it really looks like something from the future. This design reminds me of iPhone a little bit. We have on and off button right here. When this is the instruction. So with single click you can pause and play, with double click switch to forward and reverse, and then we have a triple click which turns beginner and pro mode. And we have 2 hand pieces. Then we have a removal drill bit, which we're definitely going to try, and another drill bit. I suppose this one is for sand bands that you can use. And then we have a charging cord, which is type C. Then we have anti-drop magnetic stand. This one is rather heavy, and this is so smart because honestly, when I was dealing with the small size e-files, I always have this issue that I'm afraid that it's going to fall from my table because they just move around and they're so small. But with this one, I think it's not going to be the case. So we need to stick this one right here, and I suppose this one, oh no, probably like this. Yeah, it's going to hold it in place. So they require a special drill bits, and this is one of them. They have this thicker part. I can't wait to try it in action. So when you connect the handpiece, it's very important to use the right port, because this is the one for charging, which actually says here, and this is the one for handpiece. They both are type C, so please do not get confused. Then we put this away, and then we turn it on. All right, so we have different options. So we can turn it on by clicking right here on the unit, or we can also turn it on and off by using this one on the handle. And this is so cute, like a rhinestone. Okay, on, off. We can also switch to forward and reverse mode. And if it's blue, then you know that this is forward mode. But once you want to switch to reverse, simply click. It will turn to green and you can proceed working. If you prefer changing that on the unit, you can also do that. One click is pause and play. Remember, we had this instruction, so double click switches between forward and reverse. This is not everything. Let me show you a really cool thing. Okay, first of all, we have beginner mode. So if you are a beginner, I strongly recommend you to use this one. If you want to change the speed, you simply do it here. So you see it's 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, let's do 10. Let me just show you something. F means forward mode. This is the battery level, and we have also, you see these numbers? This is the amount of pressure. So let me just show you with my hand. So once I start pressing more. Okay, I'm gonna switch to a lower volume because that doesn't feel very good. Okay, so you see, the more I press, like 10, 12, that means I'm pressing harder. And when I do a very light touch, you see only 4 and 5. And I think this is perfect. This is just ideal for beginners, because whenever I had my students, we were always struggling with this issue. They could not feel the pressure yet. And it makes sense. You're just getting started. So now that you can see it here, you will know, let's say for product removal, you need to use a certain speed and numbers. Like, this is amazing. So I'm going to test this drill, and then I think it would be so cool to use it for education. Also, there's a pro mode. So we need to click 3 times, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now we have a pro mode, and here is the difference. So first of all, it starts from, oh, okay, it has the exact same speed. It's just the difference is that you can go all the way up to 50,000 RPMs. Wow. But the only thing, it's not recommended to use with any drill bits. And here's another issue. So this socket for drill bits is not standard. I don't know if you guys noticed it already, but it's actually much thicker compared to traditional drill bits. You see how thicker it is? So you can use whether their own drill bits that are thicker, and I'm super excited to try this one. So you open and close it just like with regular drill bits. Okay, this is 33. Let's go all the way up to 50. Wow. And of course, there's another option. You probably already have tons of your own drill bits. I definitely do. They have this special drill bit converter that is included in the kit. There are actually 2 of them. Oh my God, I truly hope I'm not going to lose them. So you put this one inside, and then I can use my own drill bits. So they do not recommend to use your own drill bits with the top speed, because normally they're just not designed for it. But you can definitely use them with the lower speeds. Let's try it out on my nails first. And yes, this is what it looked like. I don't even know how to explain that. Well, I was experimenting with different techniques and products, and now I need to remove some gel. So I will be using my own ceramic bead first and set the speed to 32,000 rotations per minute and try using Pro mode. So it feels kind of weird to remove the product because let me give you this example. So one of my neighbors, she owns Tesla Cybertruck. One time I was standing outside, I didn't hear anything, and then I turned around and I almost jumped because I didn't expect that there is a car behind me. Because normally you can hear the car when it's not noisy outside, right? When someone's backing up or just driving, I mean, you can hear something. But with this car, there is simply no sound. And I was quite impressed by that. Well, here I have the exact same feeling. It's like it's rotating, it's filing, it's removing. It's so smooth. I mean, you can hear this traditional sound of e-file, but it's moving differently. The most exciting part, it's truly like no vibration, because usually at such a high speed, especially 32,000 RPMs, that's pretty fast, we definitely can feel vibration. Even if we use high quality drill bits, even if we do everything right, you still can feel it a little bit, right? I mean, besides the fact that the drill bit is removing the product, but here there's almost none. That's why it feels a little weird. It's like you just want to make sure, is it even working? So it took me a couple minutes to remove the product from 2 nails. As you can see, I didn't have much product, so it's not really your standard product removal. But for now, I am quite impressed. So let's see how is it going to when we're going to do dry manicure. And first, I want to try it on myself because I want to feel it by myself. But as you may know, if you watch some of my previous videos, My nails are not too complicated in terms of dry manicure, which means I don't have that much excess skin, so it's not too complicated. However, I really want to feel it, like to understand how it works. So I will be using diamond flame-shaped red abrasive bead, and first work on the left side. With dry manicure, you need a slightly lower speed compared to product removal, but it's also very important that your file has enough power. Even though it seems for dry manicure you don't need that much, but if it's not powerful enough, it is going to take you much longer to clean all these cuticles from your side grooves, from the nail plate. And once again, I have this strange feeling like, is it even working? Because I'm also using my dust collector, and that one is pretty noisy, and I have to say that it's way louder than my e-file. That's why I was constantly checking, like, oh my god, is it even working? Now let me show you something. Now I'm using Pro Mode, 18,000 rotations per minute, and I really want to show you this pressure. Do you guys see? So it's mostly 3, 4, 5. It rarely goes outside of these numbers, and this is what I wanted to show you and to explain to you for years, because I mean, I can show you how to do it, but you guys can't really feel the pressure I'm applying on the skin and on the nail through the screen, right? But now you can actually see it. So I'm not pressing on the nail a lot. I'm just barely doing that. Remember when I showed you this example with my hand? When you press a lot, the numbers go way up. And right now it's only 2, 3, 4. So, which means I'm doing pretty light touch, and only when I'm touching the skin it gets slightly higher. So doing dry manicure was impressively easy and quick, so I even decided to try it if it's good enough to trim my cuticles. So I'm not going to use manicure scissors like I normally do. Instead, I'm going to use the exact same flame-shaped bead and attempt to trim my cuticles, and looks like it is working. So I'm using reverse mode, so it's rotating in the opposite direction, and then I'm doing these motions, and oh my god, it's cleaning it so well. But keep in mind, this technique will not work for everyone. It will work on two conditions. It will work if you don't have that much of a dry skin, like of the cuticles, like me. And second, you need to have dry skin. So this trick will not work for someone with oily skin, because in that case you will need a different technique, different drill bits. But in my case, it worked out perfectly, and I'm even thinking to switching to dry manicure only. So when using reverse mode, I'm cleaning the right side of my nail, I'm cleaning the side grooves, and then I push back the cuticle so it will be easier to trim it. And only once it's fully up and I can see this white line of the dead skin, only I'm trimming it. So the prep is super important. You cannot just take your cuticles, take your dry skin and trim it right away. It's all about the previous steps. Okay, dry manicure task passed, and the next one is product removal. This e-file is so smart. So guess what happened? I was, just exploring it, switching back and forth, and then finally I'm like, okay, I'm going to try it. So I click on, and it's not working. You see, AI protection, restart. So I restarted it, and I did it again, and it was still not working. So I'm like, oh my god, did I break it on my first day? Like, seriously? And guess what? What does it mean? Well, there was some error. I didn't close the drill bit. You see, imagine I would have started it. So now I start it, I check. Okay, let's restart it. And now it's working. I mean, that is so smart, because starting e-file with the drill bit that is not locked, well, it's usually a bad idea. I have this client here, and she has soft gel tip extensions with some color gel on top. So I will be using ceramic bead with green abrasive mark and about the same speed, like 35,000 rotations per minute. And I have to say that it works so smoothly. Like, I feel like this is the knife that was preheated, like a really hot knife that is cutting through the soft butter. Honestly, this is so satisfying to do. So first I file off the free edge of the nail, and then I remove the product from the top. Well, this model, she has bruise on her nail, that's why I'm being extra careful. By the way, if you would like to check out what kind of extensions we did for her, I have a separate video on my channel about it. Okay, this is really nice and it's obviously doing its job, but I'm really curious to try their own drill bit and set the speed to max, which is 50,000 rotations per minute. This is crazy. I've never experienced such a high speed before, I have to say. First of all, this drill bit obviously is very high quality because now it's cutting like a knife through the warm butter again, but this time the knife is like 3 times sharper. I mean, I barely have to touch the nail. That's how good it is. And I really enjoy removing the product from the top with this drill bit. I mean, I could easily switch to this one and do all the work with it, but my only concern is the shape of the drill bit. I prefer slightly different shape of the drill bits, especially when you're working closer to the cuticle. So I hope they will include more different kinds of drill bits in their kits so we can also use them on the top speed. So I was kind of scared to go too close to the cuticle with this shape, so I had to switch to another one. Now let's try it out with my carbide bead and green abrasive mark. So it's working well. I lowered the speed a little bit. Now it's about 35,000 rotations per minute. It's still doing its job, but there's also different sound. By the way, did you know that the sound depends not only on electric nail file but also on the drill bit? So this drill bit is kind of noisy, definitely sounds differently compared to the golden one. Since I need to finish up with the removal, I need to file off the product not only from the top but also from the cuticle area along the sidewall. E-file is definitely doing its job. I really like that there's almost no vibration. I really like this beginner and pro mode stuff because when you're learning, when you cannot tell yet, am I pressing too much? Is my client going to experience heat spike at this point? You can always see it just by looking at this number of the pressure. Well, obviously I didn't do that much as I was working because I already using e-files for quite a long time, so I kind of have this internal feeling in me, and most times I can't predict if the client is going to feel any discomfort right now or not. But I think this is simply so valuable for beginners, for DIY users who are just starting out working with electric nail files. They also mentioned on their box that this is going to speed up your service. Well, I definitely have to say that this is a true claim because with the highest speed, with the high quality drill bits, it's definitely going to take you less time and less work when doing product removal as well as when doing dry manicure. So if you already have some experience, if you're working in the salon, if you have many clients, then this kind of investment I think is definitely worth it, because whenever I can save my time with the job that I normally do, I'm definitely interested in it. Oh, Nail AI e-file is definitely suitable for product removal, for dry manicure, and for infills. But what about something that I normally don't do, which is pedicure? So I tried my colleague Anna Fox to do product removal on my toes, and yes, these are my toes, and yes, I know it's a bit embarrassing to show you the condition of them right now. Well, life happens, you know, I'm doing nails all the time and don't really have time to do my own sometimes. So I have some gel leftovers, and honestly I was keeping them for an extra week on purpose because we really wanted to try out this exact e-file. And she's using her own ceramic drill bit, and she shared that normally she never works at such low speed because right now we decided to test out 12,000 rotations per minute, which is considered rather slow for product removal. Normally she uses at least 20 to 25,000 RPMs, but it was surprisingly good and comfortable. I mean, it was working. And also I don't have that much gel on my toes, so we don't really need to file off the piles of products. So it was working pretty smooth. And this time I also experienced this feeling of this e-file, but as a client. I mean, it's a bit different when you're doing something for yourself and when someone else is doing it. And I have to say, I could barely feel her touching my nails. Like, there's almost nothing. Like, I mean, I obviously could feel that her fingers, her hand is touching my toes, but it was such a slight feeling. It's definitely different from another e-files that I worked before. Anna also shared that it feels really smooth and unusual. And by the way, she never used electric nail files before, so it was a completely new feeling. So pedicure, check. Now let's do the final and the most extreme challenge, which is transforming short and beaten nails of my client Anna. And this is another Anna. So this is what her nails look like. It's been 3.5 weeks since we did extensions, and as you can see, 50% of them are missing, so we need to remove the rest. So first I'm going to try their drill bit again with the top speed, which is 50,000 rotations per minute. And he's my client for about 5 years now, and I tried so many different products and e-files on her, so I decided to do one hand with my regular e-file and another one with this one, and asked for her opinion. She said that it definitely feels different, like it's softer, like she can barely feel it. And my another client had a very similar feedback. She said that, okay, so when you were filing with this first e-file, I could feel that you're removing the product. I could feel a little heat, but when you switch to this one, I can barely feel anything. Like, it's so soft and smooth. And I think that it definitely has to do with this low vibration, because we're probably so used to it. If you're using e-file for a while, we don't even notice it, but there is a slight vibration. So when there's almost none, you can definitely feel this difference. Like, it feels like, I'm not even sure if it's rotating. It's like this knife that's simply shaving the layers of the product from the top of your nail, but it doesn't feel like you need to press much on it. And by the way, this is another definition and a sign of a good quality electric nail file. So if you've ever had experience with super affordable, like cheap e-files, sometimes you are filing the product with them and you feel like nothing is really happening. So you press harder and harder, and at some point you press so hard that it even stops in your nail. Let me know in the comments if you ever had that experience, because I definitely did. Like, home use e-files can do that because they're actually not designed for like acrylic removal. But with this one, you don't really need to press too much. You just barely touch the surface and it's already filing off what you need. And another feature I'm just loving is that you can see the pressure. So I recommend beginner mode if you are a beginner, if you don't feel confident. Or let's say if you've been using e-file for a while, let's say for removals, for infills, but you're just learning to use it for dry manicure, for electric nail file manicure, then I think that you need to use the beginner mode first. With the pro mode, it's pretty much the same. The only difference is that you can go all the way to 50,000 rotations per minute, but you still can see this number of the pressure you're applying to the nail, and I think that can be so helpful. So product removal took definitely a little less time than usual. It's really hard to compare because Anna brings a different amounts of nails to me every time. So sometimes all of them are missing, sometimes only one was broken. So I can't really compare the time, but it definitely felt faster. And now let's try dry manicure. We already tested it on myself, but we all know that there is not that much to clean. With short and beaten nails with cuticles like Anna has, there's definitely way more work. So first I'm going to push them back with orange wood stick, and then I will proceed with the same drill bit I normally use for dry manicure, which is diamond flame shaped with a red abrasive. And speed is going to be 20,000 rotations per minute. Normally, I use a lower speed for dry manicure, but it really depends on the client. If they have dry skin, if there's a lot to clean, like Anna's cuticles, then definitely it's worth doing the higher speed. And like I said, I'm not going to apply too much pressure. I just need to remove all these cuticles from the nail plate. She has slightly more cuticles than regular person for a simple reason is that when you have a nail biting habit, your body is always sending these extra forces to give you more cuticles to protect them, because the brain thinks like, oh, there is some damage on the body, so let's send more material so it will recover faster. And for that reason, usually there's way more work compared to regular cuticles. That's why when working with the clients like this, you can especially feel the difference. I mean, when cuticles are easy, you just do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and you are done. But here, I always shared with you before, when I was doing Anna's nails, it takes me almost twice longer to do her dry manicure. I think it can be in the range from about 15 to 20, sometimes even 30 minutes for dry manicure only. Well, it obviously depends, because sometimes they are in a better condition, sometimes it gets worse, but it's something like that. Well, in this case, it took me about 15 to 12 minutes to do her dry manicure, because I simply need to do less motions, you know what I mean? So I never really counted them, because as you can see, I'm working pretty fast. By the way, this is not fast forward. This is an actual speed and pace of how I'm working. So let's say it takes me, I don't know, 20 times to do this motion until I clean her sidewall. With this e-file, it takes a little less than that. Then we need to push this button on the handpiece to switch to reverse mode and the opposite rotating. So there are different options. You can switch this rotation on the unit if that's what you prefer, but I think it's so helpful when you can do this right on a handpiece. Another thing that I really enjoy is that the cord that they have, it's not curled, it's straight, and this is definitely my preference, because all the products that you have on your table do not get stuck in it, and it's pretty long, which means you can just put your e-file and do not worry that it's going to fall if you're, if you're moving when you're working with your client. So for me, this is pretty cool. My only concern is that it's so pretty, it's white, which for me is good. I mean, you can't see any dust on it, but the cord is also white, and that's my only concern, like if it's going to look clean after a while. Well, obviously I'm going to do everything that's in my power to keep it clean, but I'm just worried that it may get a little gray over time, but we'll see. I'll keep you updated. So I'm using the exact same technique here. So I clean one side, then I clean the opposite side and push the cuticles up. So with Anna, unfortunately, we cannot trim the cuticles with electric nail file at this point because she has some hangnails and cuts. So it is safer if we use manicure scissors. But before doing that, I'm going to remove the shiny surface with a light buffer, which is 180 grit, and also I'm going to file and shape her nails, which is something we don't normally do because sometimes her nails are so extremely short that there's nothing really to file and shape. But this time there is a free edge on some of her nails, which means we can file and shape them. Also, I'm going to use a technique I haven't used on her for quite a while because it was simply not possible. So normally we do weather acrylic extensions on air. I call them on air because we don't use forms or tips. I simply do this a little extension right on air. Sometimes we use silk, sometimes we use dual form. Finally, she has some of the free edge, which means we can do acrylic extensions on forms. Acrylic obviously works the best for her because this is a rather hard product and usually it stays on so much better. Also, we're going with her most durable nail shape, which is oval, and of course we're not going to make them super long, which is never recommended for nails like this. Trimming the cuticles, I'm going to apply prep products, dehydrator, non-acid primer, and since we will be doing acrylic, that's it. You don't need any kind of base coat. So I fit the form, and I will be using nude color acrylic and first build the free edge. It really depends on how acrylic is going to work depending on the temperature in your room. So on that particular day it was so cold, so it took me I think almost twice longer to apply acrylic. Normally I do it way faster, but when it's simply not curing, so let's say you build this free edge and you're like, all right, I can proceed to the next bead, but you really can't because it's still moving, because it still tends to go wider than you applied it, and you're like, oh my god, now I need to keep it all in place. So just so you know, if it's super cold in your room, find a way to make it a bit hotter, because you are going to suffer with acrylic. Well, at least that's what I felt, because it was just miserably slow. At some point we even thought of using a regular blow dryer with the heat on, because this is how you can speed up the process. But the downside of it is once you do, all your glitter and small objects on the table can be simply blown away, because we definitely didn't want that. So I just had to take my time and do this application properly. On the other hand, we had all the time in the world to apply them as perfectly as I want, so we almost will not need to file. So after building the free edge, then I build the second bead, which is in the center, the apex area, and finally I do the cuticle area. Since Anna's nails are so small and tiny, all the beads are tiny as well. Once the product is set, we can finally carefully remove the form, pinch the nails, and now I only need to shape the nails. I will be using 180 grit file, and then I noticed something. With acrylic, unfortunately, you can't just apply it. Even if you do it perfectly, you can't just apply color on top coat right on acrylic. You still need to at least buff it, because the surface needs to be super smooth. But then I realized that Anna has rather deep side grooves and puffy sidewalls, which makes it a bit challenging for regular nail file to reach. Well, luckily we have electric nail file, so I will be using needle-shaped small carbide bit, so I can reach these super furthest areas without touching your skin, because we definitely do not want to damage it. And I'm going to file this area so it will be super smooth. There will be no visible border between the product and the nail, and her nails are not going to lift. So after doing that, I'm also going to buff the surface so it's going to look super clean and smooth. And then if you need to, you can also finish off with the sidewalls. I prefer using this thin wooden files, because with them you can reach these furthest areas of the sidewalls. And the final touch is when you're dealing with a dry skin, with a person who's biting their nails or have many hangnails. Now we need to buff and polish the cuticles. So I will be using buffing bead. The speed should not be too fast. We set about 14,000 rotations per minute, forward mode, and then I simply buff the skin. Do not forget that you need to move fast. With this kind of bits, you're not allowed to stay at one spot for too long. Otherwise, you may burn your client's skin. And I'm going to clean the sidewalls, the cuticles, the surrounding area. So now her skin is super smooth. For clients like Anna, this part is extremely important, because once I'm going to leave this little part of the skin, that may trigger her to get back to this skin and nail biting habit or picking the skin. And we definitely want to avoid that. That's why I'm doing my best. I'm buffing and polishing the cuticles until they're super smooth. And finally, this is what we have. It's kind of hard to tell that these are not her natural nails, right? And I'm going to seal it with a glossy top coat, and this is the result that we have. I want to thank O Nails so much for sponsoring this video, and they also have a great surprise for you guys, a really nice discount. So you can find the code in the description box if you prefer to use it, as well as the link to the product. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.